Welcome to Wasted Local Talent. Today we're bringing you something a little bit different. Okay, I lied. It's not that different, but it feels different. This week's episode, we have Maggie, the owner of Vertical Vixens Pole Fitness out of Clarksburg. You can find them on Instagram at verticalvixenswv. They also have a website. It's verticalvixens.com, and they are having their grand opening on November 9th at 4 p.m. The address is 741 East Main Street in Clarksburg. Jed and I have been good friends with her for quite a while now. And speaking of Jed, how are you doing today? Oh, wait, you're at home in bed, you piece of shit. Jed's suffering from what we call B-bibs. It's a combination of being blind, bald, and having irritable bowel syndrome. That sounds tough, Jed, but I'd be lying if I said that I actually gave a shit. It's a love-hate thing. More hate from his side, so sometimes I just gotta poke the bald bear. Bender is the name of the song that's being played. It's by Worst Kept Secret, and they're all a little happy. You can check them out on Facebook and Instagram at Worst Kept Secret WV, and they're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all that shit. And since you're listening, if you'd like to find out more about Wasted Local Talent, you can check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Wasted Local Talent. You can check out our Twitter at Wasted Local, and on our website, 13palmtrees.com/wastedlocaltalent. That's also where you got to go if you'd like to apply to be on the show. And remember that if we don't reply to you right away, it's because I have a lot of applications and we're a little bit overbooked right now. So just be patient with us and we'll get to you eventually. Don't hate us. Don't hate me. Just hate Jed. Ooh. And before I forget, we have other podcasts. We have D&D Kinda, which is where I play the lovable character, Topher, Dingus, Dorian, Christopher. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. We also have Video Game Mythos and Gurus of Gaming. If you go to any of the major podcasting sites, apps, whatever you use, search for 13 Palm Trees. They will all show up. Also, don't forget to follow 13 Palm Trees as well on Instagram at 13 Palm Trees PP. And the same goes for Twitter. And if you'd like to delve into the sad life of me, you can check me out on Instagram at HoverRoundGenocide. Now let's get to the episode.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jed.
And I'm Daniel.
And this week, we'll be wasting our talent with
Maggie.
From
Vertical Vixens Pole Fitness.
Yes, my child. Yes.
So, is this your first foray into owning a business?
Yeah, I started completely from scratch.
What gave you the idea?
So I started pole dancing when we lived in Connecticut in 2012 and fell in love with it. I taught myself because there was no studios where I lived. And then Drew and I moved to West Virginia where there was really no studios.
Yeah.
I really wanted people to dance with because I love this thing so much. But there was nobody to dance with. So I decided that I was going to have to create people to dance with if I wanted to share this with people. So I started teaching for a local yoga studio. That studio kind of fell apart and I was left with the building. So I just kind of ran with it. Like, it wasn't my idea to own a studio. I just really wanted to teach. But then when the opportunity to run my own show fell into my lap, I kind of just ran with it, and I'm glad that I did.
So you kind of just made this happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't planned.
No, it was not planned.
Wow.
It was not planned. That's just sort of how the cards fell. And now I'm very happy that's how it happened because I enjoy what I do, from the teaching to the planning, even the crappy tax stuff. It's my crappy tax stuff,
Yeah. There had to have been a lot of growing pains.
Oh my God, you don't even know.
Especially because most people, they kind of get the idea that they want to have a business, and they prep for it.
Yeah, like the taxes in particular were just very confusing. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And paid for those.
Yeah.
But it's for something that I love, so I'm happy to make those mistakes. And I have a lot of learning to do still. I've been lucky enough to work with the Small Business Administration here in Fairmont, and they've been able to kind of guide me and give me some suggestions and lead me in the right direction, which is very helpful because I certainly do not know it all.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you got planned?
So my husband and I bought a church in February and have been slowly converting this into a multi-purpose space, but mostly a pole studio. What we would like to see happen there is to continue to grow the business, but we'd also like it to be a performing space. So I want to put on shows with my students, so like showcase type stuff. I'd like to do open mic nights, acoustic shows, art shows, craft fairs, that kind of thing. My long-term vision for myself is eventually I would like to host women's retreats. Focused around pole and aerial. So I think what I'm going to start to do, and I'm not sure if this will happen this year or next year, but it's sort of the first like new adventure I'd like to take, is I want to start doing like pole class sleepovers. So like get all the girls together. We do like, I would host a workshop. Both of my employees would host workshops, and then, you know, play some games, maybe watch a movie. Drew would cook us dinner. Wake up, do some yoga, feed them breakfast, and send them on their way.
Like a bed and breakfast with pole dance.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
No doubt.
So did you, especially in this area, being a pole fitness, did that have like, as far as, because I've had a business in Clarksburg, and the community itself, just being a music venue, was not cool with that. Having the labels like a pole fitness, did you get any like backlash from the community?
You know, I've had a surprisingly small amount of backlash, honestly. I haven't really had to deal with the stripper argument much, to be honest with you. I think it's because when people join it, they fall in love with it, and they tell their friends, and they kind of understand it. I have had a lot of potential clients be very skeptical of it, mostly in like their own physical ability. But I haven't really dealt with like any negative attention from the community, other than like my old studio was above a bar.
Yeah.
And like in between classes, I'd go downstairs to meet my students, and creepy old men from the bar would be like, "What are you doing up there?" Yeah. And we'd be like, "Oh, it's like Zumba, dude." Or they'd find out, "Oh, can I watch?" You know, creepy. So mostly like creepy drunk old men comments, honestly. But I haven't. No, I haven't gotten any like shaming for what I do, which I'm actually surprised about, because that does exist.
That is surprisingly progressive.
Yeah, the community has accepted me pretty wholeheartedly, which I'm pleasantly surprised about.
I wonder if maybe at this point it's just because, they're just happy to have something.
Well, that's how I feel. I think this area is a little bit culturally deprived. It's very old school. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think there are a lot of people out there, particularly women, who are intimidated by the normal like fitness atmosphere of going to the gym. Weights are intimidating. Other people are intimidating, and we make a point to be very welcoming and accepting of everyone. Me and my employees strive to make it a welcoming environment. You know, whether you're a competitive weightlifter or you're 300 pounds, we make this a place for everybody. And so I think that attitude kind of carries over. I think people are able to see that even when they haven't been to the studio.
And it's definitely intimidating, right? Like, I mean, it's not like, most people have kind of an understanding of how to exercise.
Yes.
At least like a basic idea of, you go to the gym, you walk on a treadmill, maybe you lift weights, you do something, they have a, basic understanding. But pole dancing is kind of one of those things where it's like, that's kind of a steep learning curve there.
Yeah.
Was it intimidating for you to get into it in the beginning?
For me in particular, no, it was exciting.
Yeah.
It was really exciting because I'd been a dancer my whole life. Mostly modern dance, a little bit of ballet. And I saw this YouTube video of this like competitive pole dancer and was like, oh my God, what is this magic? So when I started, I was more excited, and I also didn't do formal classes either. I did it with a friend who had a pole in her basement.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was like, oh, what do I wear? Am I able to do this? Because my friend I was doing it with, she was learning too.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see where walking into a class where you have certified instructors and maybe you have other students amongst you who have been doing it for a little bit longer. I mean, some girls just wearing shorts is intimidating. Some girls don't like showing their legs. And there is, like Daniel was saying, like there's the sexy connotation to it. And a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that. But I believe everybody has that in them. And the world shames that a lot, but we all have it. So we celebrate it, and we're not doing it for anybody else. We're just doing it for ourselves. And
I've seen, I obviously follow you on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. I've seen some people that I know who, whenever I met them, were very, shy, but they're taking your class and they've started to kind of open up more as people. It's really cool to see some of these people kind of grow into the people they're supposed to be. And that's honestly, like, I attribute that to you and your classes.
yeah, I think that's my favorite part of the job. Like, I love pole dancing, obviously. But for me personally, it was more than just building muscle. It was more than improving my flexibility and my flow. It was like the personal things that I got out of it. When you spend weeks or months attempting a new move and you fail and you fail and you fail, and then one day you finally succeed, you kind of gain this understanding of like, oh, I can apply that to really anywhere in my life. And it builds your confidence.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I'm capable of some really cool things. And so my favorite part of what I do is being able to take that gift that I was given and to give it to other women and to watch them take that and run with it. It's really phenomenal. I mean, I've had women leaving abusive relationships after being in class, even going back to the wearing shorts things. Like, they start in knee-length shorts or like capris, and then like as the weeks go by, the shorts get shorter.
Shorter.
And like the booty cheeks sort of start to show, and they become more confident in their bodies and just in themselves. And that for me is like, I've literally cried about this stuff,
Like, it's really cool what you're doing, like, just with the community in general, like these, people who are just don't have that confidence, and you can help them grow in that. Not only like, you're teaching them an art form, but you're also changing how they feel about themselves. So like those two together are just really fucking cool. Like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I feel very grateful to do what I do. I've always, ever since I was like a small child, known that I wanted to make a mark on the world somehow. And for a long time, that was like political protest. My dad used to bring me to demonstrations when I was a kid. I did the Occupy Wall Street thing. I've been in a holding cell for protesting before. And that gets old. You get kind of jaded. It's like, it's cool to go out in the streets and to yell about some stuff that you're mad about, but at the end of the day, the world's gonna do what it's gonna do. So with what I do now, I'm picking individuals, and I'm helping them to change their lives. And in that, they might go out and change one other person's life, and it's like this domino effect.
Yeah.
And women have a hard time in the world, man. Like, we get put down a lot. We have to deal with a lot of crap. So if I can help 1 or 2 or 10 or hopefully 20 women to feel a little bit more empowered in their lives and in their bodies, and be able to stand up for themselves and be able to say, there is a place for me in this world, and if you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to take it. Like, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah. And I think, like, obviously, I probably I'll speak to it, but I feel like there's this weird mixed message from society where, society has a habit of sexualizing women.
Absolutely.
And then when women, are confident in their sexuality and embrace it, then we shame them for it.
Correct.
And they're whores now.
Right.
And it's this weird, like,
whole
double standard.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
where
what
it's
we're
like
doing
we push
is
them in that
saying,
direction, and then we punish them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go in that direction anyway. We're not going to do it because you push us. And when you shame us, we're going to say, fuck you, we're going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing it for you. We're doing it for us.
Yeah. So what would you say if you had to pick one thing that's the hardest part to learn about pole dancing?
Well, that is certainly relative to the individual. Sometimes, okay, I'm gonna go from my personal experience and not the student standpoint, because my perspective is the only one I truly understand. Currently, for me, the hardest thing for me is making time to just enjoy it for myself.
Yeah.
I put a lot of energy into creating curriculums, building lesson plans, helping students, teaching the classes, teaching private lessons, running the damn business. So it is a little bit challenging for me to just make time to enjoy this thing that I really enjoy doing. Like often I'll come into my studio like an hour or two early before I have class, and I'll just kind of jam, which is wonderful.
That's awesome.
But I'm also part of a performing troupe. So I work on choreography for that. One thing I've struggled with a lot is I'm giving a lot, whether it's to my students or to this show that I'm part of, and not that that's a bad thing at all, but for me, my favorite part of pole dancing is just like putting the music on, not even planning anything, and just freestyling.
Yeah.
Just
So-
feeling the music.
Exactly. That's the healing aspect of it for me.
It's that personal time too, that like with any art, like, yeah, if you're especially if you're teaching it, and
Right.
having that personal time to where you can appreciate it like you did when you first started. I know a lot of people get jaded over time with playing music, painting, photography, anything that they're into, doing it pretty much as a job. You can get
Once
jaded.
it becomes work.
Yeah, it
Right.
makes it tough.
Yeah,
to stay
turning your
and-
passion into your career definitely.
Yeah.
It's wonderful in many aspects, but it certainly takes away. I don't want to say takes away from the joy, but it takes away from the time that you can have to devote to the
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think what I need to do personally, one of my weaknesses now is I'm getting kind of stale because I haven't been able to travel and take classes. I haven't had those moments where I get to explore by myself. So one of my goals in the coming year is to make more time for my own practice.
Yeah.
Because I think as a teacher, it's important that I stay fresh. And also just as an artist.
Yeah.
I started doing this thing for a reason.
Yeah.
So I have to stay true to that for sure.
So coming in like new students, like, so you teach, do you teach these classes like all together, or is it like individual, like one-on-one style, like in the same room, or is it like everybody's kind of, you're just.
So we have different levels. That's okay.
Yeah.
We have an intro class every other week. So that is like a one-time only class. It's half off. You come in, and it's just sort of like a tester class. We ask that everybody takes it first, just because we like lay down some fundamentals. So that's a one-time thing. And then we have beginner through advanced classes. So in our beginner classes, we're all sort of staying on the ground. Our head is above our hips. We're not inverting. We're not going upside down. But people might be doing different things in that class. So it all depends on like when you take intro and when you decide that you want to commit to a beginner class. Sometimes we're all on the same page. Sometimes I got 6 girls doing 6 different things because I don't like to push people past where they're comfortable going or past their ability. I'm pretty strict on making sure that everybody gets every single piece of the curriculum before they advance into a higher level. So, in order to like not make people feel pressured or weird or like they're not doing enough, like we take our time and everybody's on their own journey. Right now I can teach 6 at a time, which is actually kind of nice because that gives me the freedom to work individually with every person, which I like. And we do plan on getting 2 more poles, so it'll be 8 to a class. Yeah. But I feel like that's still manageable.
And how long do the classes typically run? So you do what, 1 a week per per level? Is that how you do it?
No,
Or
we
is it,
have. Hold on, I gotta count here. 1, 2, 3. I think we have 6 or 7 beginner classes right now. Every week. We have 2 intermediate classes, 1 advanced class, 2 chair dancing classes, 1 life stretch class, and then 1 intro class every other week.
Okay.
So
it's just busy schedule.
yeah. Oh yeah,
it
we're
keeps you
pretty
busy,
packed.
yeah.
Definitely. Intro is 50 minutes, and then all of our other classes are an hour. Private lessons can be, as long or as short as people want them to be. But yeah, the general classes are 1 hour. Okay. Yeah.
So how do people contact you to, like, if somebody's listening now and wants to get in touch with you to book with you or start taking classes or book a private lesson?
So we have a website, finally, that my wonderful, awesome brother put together for me. It is verticalvixens.com. So we have a full schedule up there. You can pay right through the site, book right on the site. If you want to get in contact, there's an email on there. We're also on Facebook, Vertical Vixens Pole Fitness, and on Instagram, Vertical Vixens WV. Yeah, so lots of options.
So you're not originally from West Virginia?
No, I grew up in southeastern Connecticut.
And when did you come here?
What year is it? I came here in September of 2013.
2013.
So
it's
almost
been a
5
while.
years. Yeah.
What would you say growing up outside of here? What would you say would be more challenging here versus Connecticut for owning a business?
There's more people in Connecticut.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a wider client base up there. I'm going to flip the script on this question a little bit. I think the benefit of living in West Virginia and running this business is that there's not as much diversity and activity in West Virginia. You know, you got Zumba, you got yoga, you got the gym.
Big box stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
The things that are everywhere.
Yeah.
The run-of-the-mill type stuff. And that's cool, not to knock that at all. But folks like me who are weird and whose attention is sometimes kind of hard to keep, like, we like weird shit.
Yeah.
I lift at the gym when I can just to sort of supplement my pole dancing, but my bread and butter is pole. Before pole, I wasn't interested in fitness. That didn't even cross my radar. So in the larger cities, pole and aerial and other kinds of alternative fitness they're booming. Like where I come from now, of course, after I left, there's like 3 pole studios, you know,
Yeah.
so they're all competing against each other.
Yeah.
Here, like there is one studio in Morgantown, but aside from that, I am the only pole studio that I know of in the northern half of the state. I think there might be one in like Charleston or Huntington, but we're going to have to double check on that.
I actually honestly thought that you were the only one in this area. I didn't even know there was one in Morgantown.
Yeah,
Tell you
she's
the
been
truth,
around
yeah.
longer than I have. But I think I got the Clarksburg market
definitely.
cornered.
Yeah, definitely.
And people are like itching for something to do.
Yeah.
You know, everybody complains about this like drug problem in Clarksburg, and not to deny that it's there. And I'm sure there's many, many factors as to why that's an issue here. But I think one of those factors is that there's not a lot to do.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah, what do you
I've told
do?
so many. When I was in the military, I used to tell people that all the time. You know, they would ask about West Virginia, and they would say, you know, because it's, you know, in recent years, it's kind of been a national thing that we have a little bit of a drug issue here.
A little bit.
And, you know, that topic would come up a lot, and I would always say the exact same thing. There's just nothing to do there.
What are you going to, I mean, you can do the outdoor stuff, which is great. And that's something you can't really do in many other places. But other than that, it's like, what do you go to the
that's-
movies?
Well,
Yeah.
and for, I mean, you got to think too. I mean, outside of, you know, if you didn't grow up in an area like Morgantown, Bridgeport, Clarksburg, Fairmont, you know, at least in North Central, of course, not to speak to the rest of the state, but where I grew up, you know, if you grew up like out in the sticks, you know, there's not a lot of job opportunities there.
No.
I mean, there's people that drive, you know, an hour and a half to work a minimum wage job because that's all they can do.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So we wonder where the hopelessness comes from, you know? Yeah. So I think having something to do and not just something to do, but something that you can grow in personally, going back to what we had talked about before, I'm hoping to make a little bit of an impact on the community in that way.
So one question I have, so, you know, Jess, my wife, she was really big into powerlifting a couple years back, which you know.
Yep.
But one of the problems that, you know, not problems, but like, you know, she used to get a lot of people that would have this kind of misinformed mindset that, oh, well, if you work out too much as a woman, then you're going to get super muscly and you're going to look like a dude.
Oh, I wish these
Do you
people
hear
could
that?
see me rolling my eyes right now.
Do you hear that?
Yes, I hear that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
If you, for those of you listening who know me, I'm a tiny human and I work out like 6 days a week. That's such a misconception. I mean, if you want to get big and beefy, you can, but you got to eat like...
It's a lot of work.
You have to eat so much food. I've been trying to put on muscle for years and my metabolism is just like, nope. And like women's bodies generally don't produce enough testosterone to bring you to that level anyway. So yeah, I have seen a lot of people, oh, I'd love to take your class, but I don't know. I don't want to get all big and bulky. Pole is actually a fantastic way to build lean muscle because we're working with body weight and not with resistance. So you tone up a lot. And like I said, depending on your diet and your cross training, you totally can bulk up, but unless you're trying, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Is that an issue that you run into as well? People not stapling down their diet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, some people are doing this just as a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, just as something to get out of the house an hour or two a week, have something to do on their own. But then there are people who are coming in and they're using this as like a weight loss thing, which can absolutely happen. But the problem I run into is that I cannot talk about nutrition. I'm a certified personal trainer, and when I took that course, it literally was like, you can tell your clients to eat protein, but you cannot recommend them diets. I cannot talk about supplements, or I could lose my certification.
Yeah.
So I kind of direct them to some websites if they ask. But unfortunately, on the nutrition end of things, they're kind of on their own.
Yeah.
Just because of my scope of practice.
That's kind of another misconception within fitness for most people is that, you know, a lot of people get this weird idea in their head that, well, if I just work out enough, I can just eat whatever I want to.
No.
Right.
It's like,
no.
Doesn't work that way.
Unfortunately
You can't do
not.
that.
Yeah,
No.
nutrition is an enormous part of fitness.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're filling your body with garbage, you're going to kind of have garbage results, unfortunately.
And you'll feel like shit no matter how much you work out.
And you'll feel
if
like
you're-
shit.
Back when I first started working out in high school, like I just eat like garbage, but I took weight training every single day, 5 days
Right.
a week. And I still felt like shit.
Your
I was getting
muscles
stronger.
don't heal very fast.
Yeah, I was still getting stronger. I was sore. You know, just it was just
Right.
miserable.
Yeah.
And you know that I had that mindset myself. So yeah,
No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I live on like a baked chicken and steamed kale.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like I make
can
sure I
indulge
get my
yourself.
protein and my macronutrients and like I make sure I get everything I need, but I totally hit the cookies on occasion. And that is one of the benefits. I do have like a slightly higher metabolism than most, but yeah, it's definitely important to feed your body what it needs because we're like burning a lot of calories. We're shredding a lot of muscle tissue with what we do. So yeah, if you don't feed the beast ain't gonna grow.
I have to imagine that doing pole dancing is probably for people that are not used to it. And of course, I'm sure that's why you bring them in at certain levels. But at a high level, like when you're doing that, like hard stuff, that's got to be really hard on your ligaments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I actually do take supplements.
Yeah.
Because,
I figure you'd have to.
Yeah. I didn't for a long time. And like, wow, I was in a lot of pain. Like my shoulders were kind of bad. And like, I do have a bad hip. God, I'm so young. I got a bum hip.
Falling apart.
But that was, I gained that bad hip before actually I took all of my fitness trainings and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you don't take the proper care, you will totally get hurt, which is why I prefer that people train with me so that I can help them to not injure themselves because it's a high impact sport. I mean, we are totally pushing our bodies to the limit. We are absolutely putting a huge strain on our joints and our tendons and our ligaments. And yeah, I mean, I know folks who pull at home and that's cool. I mean, that's how I started. But like I said, that's how I gained a hip injury was because I just was sort of going for it. And I was like 20 at the time. So I was like, I'm going to be young forever.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like, you make those mistakes whenever you're young and you hurt yourself and you just bounce right back from it. You don't really think anything of it. But then whenever years go by and it's like, remember that your knee wakes up one morning and it's just like, hey, remember that one time whenever you did that one thing?
That's where I am now.
Yep.
Advil is an elder polar's best friend.
Yeah.
you can feel the storms coming.
Yeah.
Both my
no
knees
doubt.
and my back.
Gonna
Every
rain.
time. Anytime a storm's coming. It's like,
Yup.
So as someone that's afraid of heights, I have to ask, the first time that you fell, was it scary? Because I know I would be terrified.
Honestly, no, because I didn't fall from super far and I had a crash pad underneath me. However, I did fall on my face. We've all taken some spills, but it's funny you mentioned that because I am also a little bit afraid of heights.
Yeah.
However, not when it comes to pole.
Really?
Like I have been at the top of a 2-story pole before and been like,
Oh, man.
got it. This is fun. But it's because I know that even if I do fall, I know like 10 ways to catch myself. If I'm like up on a cliffside or up on a really tall ladder, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like pole is my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's the one
Yeah,
place
yeah.
where I'm not afraid. But yeah, no, heights generally freak me out.
So I've never really known this. the poles, are they fixed?
Common misconception.
Yeah, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
There are many different types of poles in the
Okay.
world. Generally, when pole became a thing, they were what we call static, which is not spinning. The equipment that I use, which anybody listening, I know y'all are like, oh, I'm going to go buy a $60 pole at Spencer's. Don't do it. Go X pole. So the X poles that I use have the option. So you can make them spinning or you can make them static. But in my class, we do like 95% spinning pole because it's just so much more fun.
Yeah.
It's also a lot easier on your joints because with static pole, you're using your body to create momentum around the pole. So like, for example, when we're doing a lot of like beginner spins, we're holding on with our arms, you're basically putting all of the weight into your shoulders. And if you're swinging yourself around and you don't properly engage your shoulders, or maybe you don't have the strength to engage your shoulders, you can like really fuck yourself up. So with spinning pole, it's more of like a hold on and go kind of thing. So you can use a lot of other muscles to stabilize yourself. It's also just a lot more fun. It's kind of like playing on a jungle gym and simultaneously getting in the best shape of your life.
That sounds pretty awesome.
It's the best thing in the world. It's my favorite thing to do.
So, have you ever got your husband on a pole?
This motherfucker could be so good. There were so many times when I was teaching myself where I would be like there was this one move in particular. It's very hard to explain, but let's just say it's an advanced move.
Okay.
I probably worked on this move for like a year and a half, and like failed. And Drew would come in and go, what, like this?
And just
like,
do it.
just do it.
Oh,
and like,
man.
I've tried to get him to like do it a little bit more, and he's just not interested. He's missing an index finger, so he's like, oh, I'm missing a finger. I can't do this. But there's literally a woman named Deborah Roach who is a competitive pole dancer with one arm. So don't
He
want
doesn't
to
have an
hear
excuse
it.
there.
He doesn't have an excuse.
I would love to see Drew on a pole.
He's
Oh, yeah, I think
actually,
it would be
listen,
amazing.
it's wonderful.
For sure. I would pay to see that.
I just love Drew. I think
Maybe if we
like a
tell
great
him
guy.
he'll pay, he'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
Drew.
do it with him.
Drew,
I'll
when
do
you
it with
listen
him.
to this,
Sweet.
yeah.
We can
We should
have like
have boys
a
class.
pole dance off.
Yeah.
That's-
Do you teach guys too, or is it strictly at this point just women?
I will absolutely teach anybody who wants to learn. I've had like a handful of men, but 99% of my clients are women.
Yeah.
And you know what? The couple men I have had are so good at it. Like male pole dancers are phenomenal.
Well, they just have like natural upper body strength,
Right.
right? Like they don't really have to train all that much for it because it's just a genetic thing.
Well, some of them.
Some of them, yeah.
them.
Not
That's
in
a
like an across the board
generalization.
generalization.
Yeah, you're sitting
yeah.
Right.
across from a dude who could do like 3 push-ups. Hey, upper body strength. It's not there.
So I think you mentioned it already, but run it through again for me. You do the pole dancing, but you also offer a lot of other services, right?
Yeah, so I personally only teach pole. I teach pole and then I teach a strength and conditioning class. So it's right now we're focusing on like the small muscles in the hips and the shoulders and the core. So more like stabilizing muscles. It's not necessarily like a gains class, but it's a wonderful injury prevention. And then we offer chair dance. So my wonderful instructor, Marissa, teaches that. And that's a really awesome way to, work on cleaning up your lines. In my classes, we generally focus on like strength and moves and maybe some combos. But Marissa puts together like a full routine. So every single class, you're learning a different routine. So it's a lot more dance-based.
Yeah.
And then she also teaches a life stretch class, which is focusing on like improving functional flexibility. So kind of, opening up and taking care of your joints and
I might need to take that class.
Yeah,
You
I'm
should. It's
I am
very
so
relaxing.
ridiculously
Yeah.
inflexible.
it's
Oh,
super
yeah.
relaxing.
We can start carpooling.
Yeah, let's
and
do it.
go
Yes.
to the street.
Well, you guys have to come now.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Especially if us coming gets Drew on that pole.
Yes.
Like I'll spin around a pole all day.
I think
If he'll
that-
get on it for 5 minutes, I
I
swear to
think
God.
one of us might break the record for being the most inflexible person that has been.
I
on that
guarantee
class.
it.
I'm
guarantee
so
it.
inflexible. It's not.
Yeah.
We can help with this.
Yeah.
So since buying the church, you're obviously you stated that you were going to add more poles to bring it up to like 8 people. Do you long term have you ever thought about expanding even beyond that, like having multiple instructors to teach even more people if it grows into that, or when
even
it grows
multiple
into
venues.
that, or multiple venues.
Absolutely. Obviously, nothing's set in stone. I'm pretty notorious for having way too many grand ideas.
Yeah.
So don't take any of this too seriously because who knows? Who knows where we'll be in a couple of years. But the first thing that I would like to do is maybe get some aerial hoops in there. So those are basically like metal circles that hang from the ceiling, and it's just a different aerial apparatus. So maybe like adding some different types of aerial classes. One of my instructors has been dancing like her whole life. She's done like all different kinds of dance. So she's toyed with the idea of wanting to teach workshops, like once a month doing like a hip hop workshop or a ballet workshop, because there's not a whole lot as far as like adult regular dance classes in the area. I'm basically taking my girls and I'm like, whatever you want to do, let's try it. You know, if it works, that's wonderful. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. I've toyed with the idea of like maybe someday opening up another location. We're going to worry about this one first.
Yeah.
We've only been in business for 3 years.
Short-term goals.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So,
like I said, I'd like to focus on like doing retreats someday and veering more into like the women's empowerment area, but that's a whole nother lifetime away.
That's pretty fucking awesome, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not something that you hear about a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Especially in
in
this area.
in this area.
Yeah, you literally just took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's so old school here. It's almost like this, West Virginia is about 10 to 15 years behind the rest of, it feels like it's behind.
Yeah,
what
like,
I've noticed.
The West
coming from out
Virginian
of state.
version of empowering a woman is her having kids and being a stay-at-home
Yeah, that's
mom.
Right.
that's
Which
a
is
sad
fine.
truth.
It's like,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, not
If that's
to
what
bash
you wanna
on
do.
stay-at-home moms, but like,
But I do think that that's sort of just become like the expected norm.
yes. And if you don't do that, it's like, well, why don't you have kids?
Oh
Like,
my
we
God,
run-
when
we
I
run
got
into that all
married-
the time.
Oh, me and Drew got married 3 years ago, and the first thing out of everybody's mouth was, "When are you gonna have kids?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
like just-
probably never."
Just because you're married doesn't mean, like, there are people that I know that have been married for years, don't want kids, don't have kids.
I have a
That's not-
business.
Yeah,
All right, that's
like-
my kid. That's my baby right
exactly,
there.
yeah.
I think that's how I'd like to keep it. But anyway, going back to what you said, Jed, I have one student in particular. I'm not going to say her name, but she told me that in her family, none of the women in her family have ever gone to college. Every single woman in her family, for as many generations as she can recall, has been a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
She started taking my class, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. And since then, I've noticed an enormous improvement in her confidence. But also, she enrolled in I don't want to say exactly what it is, but she's furthering her education now. And she told me, she was like, I don't want to do what my mom and my grandma and my great grandma did. Like, I want to have a job.
Yeah.
I want to have a career. I want to have something of my own. So I'm really proud of her for doing that. There are more options out there than just like procreating and staying home. And like I said, if that's what you want to do, that's great. Like that's that. If that's empowering to you, then that's empowering and that's fantastic. But I do feel like a lot of women are like pressured or expected just to take that role because that's what you do.
Do you ever run into any issues being a female business owner?
I'm not sure if it has to do with female. I think it might have to do more with my age. I'm 26.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, oh, okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I've never had it necessarily hold me back. But I definitely like feel a general air of like people not taking me seriously.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I'm a female, but I definitely think it's because, I'm in my mid-20s and I don't know that most folks my age are doing things like this.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about that because they'll see.
Yeah.
It takes a rounded person to really do that. Like, not to get off onto a different subject, but whenever we had opened the cafe, like, I wanted to do that. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. And the opportunity fell into my lap and me and Sissy did that.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't even 21 yet. I was
Right.
27,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 28, 27. I can't remember.
Still younger than the average business owner.
Yeah, and coming into like a downtown that's pretty much known for like, there's just certain cliques in that town that
Yes.
pretty much rule what happens there, and having the one person let us do something different there in his building,
Right.
is being as young as we were, was just like, this is awesome. And then we just like started it, and it just fucking went way over our heads in it. But it's a learning process too. If you really strive for it and are willing to put in that work, you can do it.
Absolutely.
And it's tough and it's hard, but you know,
it's possible though.
it is very possible.
I
yeah.
have to attribute a lot of my success to my husband, honestly. He's been so supportive. I mean, there have been times where I have made like no money on this. You know, like I've taken all the money I've made from Vertical Vixens and put it right back into the studio. I haven't used it to pay bills or buy groceries. And he's been like holding the job and supporting me. And like this church thing, the whole inspiration for it was there was some debate on whether or not the city of Clarksburg was going to buy the building I was renting from that my studio was in. I still don't really know what's going on with it. It might happen, it might not, so I don't want to say for sure. I'd known that I'd wanted to expand for a while, and this just sort of seemed like a sign that it was time. And like when I found out that they might be like buying my studio, I cried and cried and was so upset. And Drew came in and was like, we're going to fix this. And like the next day we found this listing for the church. We had some money set aside. We were going to buy a backhoe for Drew, which has been on his wish list for a long time. And it's not even like a fun thing. It's like, I want this so I can fix the driveway and like maintain our property.
God, I know those feelings.
Oh, the driveway is made of nightmares. It's terrible. So Drew forfeited his backhoe to buy this church. And like the things that he has done, I never expected another human to ever do for me. So he's a lot of it. But you're right, Daniel. Like it takes a lot of drive. It takes a lot of vision, particularly in this church renovation. We bought the thing in February, and we have been there like every day working on it. We opened last Tuesday. I really wanted to make it to the deadline that I had set for myself to open it. And so it was like every day off, we were in there working. Every day after work and after class, we were in there working. And I remember like the last like 2 weeks, I was so tired. I just wanted to like stay home and like lay in bed and like get a full night's sleep. I was so exhausted, but I knew if we wanted to do this thing that we had to keep pushing. And I was like, I can sleep in a month.
Pushing towards that end goal. And then once you push yourself to that point, and then once it's finished, you feel so much better than like taking some time and maybe resting for a day, then you rest for another day and kind of get out of that cycle that you're in to get it done. That's happened to me a lot. I'm also just a lazy piece of shit. But
we all have that in us.
But, keeping yourself in that and going and then being able to appreciate the end product is just...
And that's what it's all about. Totally. Like it kind of sucks getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep and then going right back and working on it again. But I would rather do it this way than somebody just hand me the keys to a finished studio, because...
It's
obviously,
now it's your studio.
It's your place.
Exactly. And
it's
this place
yours.
will never be finished. Like, this is going to be an ever evolving thing.
Yeah.
For goodness sake, we own a 100-year-old we're going to be working on this forever. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to look at what we've done, and I'm going to feel super grateful and super accomplished. Like, I've always believed that.
So you were what, 23?
I was 23 when I started teaching.
When you started teaching?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was much smaller scale then. I mean, I was teaching
Still, though.
3 classes a week with 3 poles.
Yeah.
I
mean,
it's
still
grown
a lot to take
Oh,
on
yeah.
at 23.
No doubt. I've definitely grown up quite a bit since moving to West Virginia.
Wow.
That was a learning curve for sure. But best thing that ever happened to me. I have not always had my shit together like this. But I kind of attribute my success to like not having my shit together in the past,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because I had a reason to like cut it out.
Yeah.
you
Kind of
know?
buckle down and do what you
Absolutely.
want to do. Yeah.
I've fucked up a lot in my life. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of bad things, and I'm ready to not be that person anymore.
I think that's one of the like best pathways to success is just fucking up.
Totally. Oh my gosh, I have
Get
a
it out of the
friend
way.
who like her parents give her everything, and like they pay her bills, they bought her car. she went to all these like schools that she didn't want to go to because they wanted her to go, and she's so lost in life. And my advice to her was like, go fuck up.
Yeah.
Go try a bunch of things, hate them, fail at them,
Yeah.
because that's the only way you're gonna know what you want to do. And like sometimes you gotta piss your parents off.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not condoning, if you're doing something right now that you don't enjoy, don't go out and purposely get yourself arrested.
No,
to
no,
find
no.
that drive.
We're not.
Because
no
Maggie
criminal
said I needed to
mischief.
get arrested.
I need to go fuck some shit up.
No mischief.
I'm going to go set something on
All
fire.
I'm trying to say
No.
is go find yourself.
No, but
and it's a trial and error process.
that's
Thank
what-
you for the
Yeah.
clarification.
Well, that's actually what happened to me is like high school after high school, I was just the people that I was with, I fucked up and got arrested. And then, that was the turning point in my mind and like what I needed to do with my life. I'm still like not doing really much of
That was the
anything.
point in your life when you were like, I need to record podcasts.
Not then. Back then it wasn't a thing. I'm substantially older. So I don't think so. Back in
But that was whenever you
2004,
realized that you wanted to
2005,
start like recording things on stones.
Yes. Hieroglyphics in cave. If you go to like, was it Smoke Hole Caverns? Deep down in there, you'll find some of my ancient
Early work.
paintings.
Messages from Daniel.
So, but yeah, like that's,
great.
the turning point was, and it took a while and I'm still on that path, but if that didn't happen, it's like, where would I be if I still, was in that situation that I was in then, as opposed to like, I get arrested and my parents and my grandparents were like, yo, we'll get you out of jail if you have to live at home, you have to do these things. And they, helped me along that process. So
It's easy to be complacent if you have no reason to try to not be complacent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was
Yeah.
my experience, at least. It was like, oh my God, I need to make a change.
Yeah.
Like if everything was easy.
There's no catalyst.
Exactly. Sometimes like getting in trouble and making huge mistakes are the only way to really like launch that other chapter of your life.
Yeah. And everybody's different, you could be sitting there one day and be like, I should do this. And then that changes. Not everybody's like that. Sometimes it takes
Right.
something big like that to happen, and it's especially in West Virginia because there's not a whole lot to do. So like finding who you are and what you want to do, especially if it's anything with art, it's tough in this area, whether it's, dance, music, whatever. It's just not a good spot for it. to tell you
No,
the
it's
truth.
not. And even though Jed's like off coughing up a lung, I do want to expand on this. So a little bit of detail on my past is I used to have like a pretty bad drug problem. And as crazy as it sounds, pole dancing really, really helped to pull me out of that. It was something I thoroughly enjoyed. It was something that helped me to work through my problems. And like it was an ultimatum. It's like I can't be a drug addict and an athlete.
Yeah.
And
don't go hand in hand.
exactly. So like I had gotten sober a few months before I started pole, but I really attribute that to me maintaining my sobriety. And so I want this to be out there for people who maybe, even if it's not addiction, whatever issue they might be dealing with.
Yeah.
Like if they don't have access to it, how are they going to stop?
Yeah.
Not that pole dancing is the cure all to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, pole dancing is a variable, but like you said, whether it's art or music or dance or working out or whatever, I'm hoping that more people will latch onto that.
Yeah. And having that, that thing to go to in place of, like say, like yours was addiction or, anything that somebody might be going through, having something to put in place of that will keep it'll keep their mind occupied. Because if your mind's stagnant, you're going to end up going back to the things you don't want to do.
Right.
So if you're ready in your mind to do that and have that passion and drive to do something, it could be working at McDonald's. If that's your drive, do it.
Right.
If it's, but whatever it is, there can be those things that one thing or multiple things that you do that will help you overcome that.
Absolutely.
So, using, your pole fitness, like that to you was and is your way of maintaining your sobriety.
Oh, it totally
So-
is. And the business in itself is as well. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, I have accountability now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy to like share this with the community, but selfishly there is a little motive there of like, I need to dive into this project or or I might kind of lose it.
Yeah.
You know, so this is more than just a business to me. I mean, it's been really life-changing.
This podcast has been brought to you by 13 Palm Trees Podcast Productions. Check us out online at 13palmtrees.com.